Happy Tuesday, everybody. So I wanted to jump on here. A lot of times I will share some tech tips with you on Tuesday, sometimes some marketing tips or funnel, how to build your funnels, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like there's a little, don't you hate that when you get this like little hair in your mouth? Anyway, I thought what I would do today, I'm getting ready to dive into building a funnel for somebody. And I thought it might be interesting for you. Maybe not. You'll have to let me know in the comments of what I do to get ready to build somebody's funnel. So I'm just going to take kind of a little behind the scenes for you so you can see what I do. Now, oh, I hate that. There, I think I got it. So I build on 3 different platforms. There's a ton of different marketing platforms out there. The ones that I support that I know intimately, of course, is the Funnel Gorgeous FGF funnels. Also Kartra. Absolutely love Kartra. If I had to pick a favorite, don't tell anybody, but Kartra probably is. And then I've also been starting to build on another platform called Fast Funnels. I'm pretty impressed with them also. So when I get ready to help a client, I have a consultation call with them. We figure out what it is that they're needing and wanting. And then the next step in the process is we schedule it on my calendar. And I do what I call build in a day funnels. Sometimes it takes more than an 8-hour day. But when I work on that funnel, it's hyper focused. That's all I'm working on. Sometimes I'll spread it over 2 half days, but the client loves it because they know that I'm dedicated to working on their funnel. I love it because it eliminates scope creep and all of that kind of stuff. We're very focused on what it is we're trying to get done. So that's what I'm going to be working on this afternoon. And I thought, let me just share the whole process with you as far as before I jump in and actually start building. So let me share my screen. And let me bring this over so that you can see that. Let me move this screen over here. All right. I think we're good to go. All right. Just a little side note, if you are watching live, you have to give StreamYard permission so that I can see your name. If you're watching on replay, I would love it if you told me that you're watching on replay. All right. Just trying to get this screen a little bigger for you. This is kind of an overview that I created a while back. I call it my ONT process to design funnels. And remind me later, I'll share a copy of this if anybody would like to see it or like to have it. So what does this mean? Basically, the O stands for the objective. So when you're first building your funnel or you're having somebody build a funnel for you, you need to figure out what is the objective of that funnel. Is it to increase your leads, to get more opt-ins and emails, or are you trying to get people to sign up for a consultation call? What is it? What is the objective of that? So that is the first thing when you're going to plan your funnel. What is the objective? And then the second thing, the N, I call this my naming and acronym. When you're building a funnel, there's lots of moving pieces in this funnel, and chances are it's not going to be the first funnel that you have in your business. So I always suggest that you come up with a naming scheme and an acronym that you use all the way through. So every asset, and when we say asset, all of the little pieces of your funnel, use an acronym connected with that asset so that you know everything connected with that starts out with the same acronym. So I'm getting ready to do a live workshop on a planning workshop. So that acronym would be for my business planning workshop. It will be BPW. Excuse me. And then everything that I create, every page that I create, every image, every workflow, everything will have that acronym at the beginning. So it's just very easy for me to find all of those things. And then the T is what type of funnel. So there's all different kinds of funnels out there. And depending again on your campaign objective, you'll be creating or want somebody to create for you a different type of funnel. Now, it might be what we call like a squeeze page. That's where you offer something of value. It's a very simple page and you're just trying to get people's email addresses. Or an SLO, which is what they call a self-liquidating offer. You'll see these SLOs a lot of times when people are selling something very inexpensive, like a $27 product. They're running some ads behind the scene. And the goal or the objective of that is basically they want to break even. They're not looking to make money off of an SLO funnel. They're looking to break even, but then they're growing their list and their leads, which will turn into those raving fans. So there's all different other kinds of funnels, a webinar funnel, open cart sales page, et cetera, et cetera. And based on the type of funnel that you're building, you'll have different additional assets and pages for it. So that's the ONT part. And then once you start building your funnel assets, and again, an asset is anything connected to that funnel. So once you start building those assets, then it's what I call the TFPAE path. So if you follow this path, you'll never miss a step when you're building out your funnel. So what is the T? Basically, T just stands for your tags. So when you're tagging all of these assets, then use the same acronym. So again, the example here, XYZ purchased, XYZ abandoned, XYZ freebie, XYZ video watch. So you want to have tags so that you can track the behavior of the person coming into that funnel. I always tell people tags are free. So, don't be chintzy. Use a lot of tags in your workflows, and it will really give you some good insight as far as your customer or your leads journey. The second thing then that you need to create is the F for forms and opt-ins. So, if you're trying to just get emails, you're going to need an opt-in form for that. Or if you're trying to sell something, you need to create that the sales cart, the two-step order form, or the one-step order form. If you're trying to drive people to get on a call or to apply for your program, then there's like an application form that you need to create. So again, as you're building out your funnel, create your tags first, create your forms. And then the third step when you're building your funnel is what I call the P, which is for pages and products. Now you're ready to jump in and start creating your pages. And again, continue to use that acronym so that everything is consistent. Your XYZ underscore landing page, XYZ TY for thank you page, XYZ webinar page. All right. So I think you're getting the gist here of that. The next step when you're building out your funnels is A for automations. So what you need to do is think about all the actions connected to when somebody comes into your funnel and what is it that you're trying to track and what is it that you need to keep an eye on. So what do I mean about that? Basically think about, okay, if X happens, then do this. So an example would be if someone fills out my XYZ opt-in form, they want that freebie, then what do I want to happen? And so then all these automations would happen in the background. So first I would want to assign a tag that they signed up for the XYZ freebie. then I might want to put them into an email sequence automation so that it delivers the freebie and that it puts them in a nurturing sequence and so forth. So just think about everything that you manually would want to do or have to do, and then create a workflow or an automation behind the scenes so that you don't have to keep doing that. And then the last letter here is E for emails. And I mentioned it a little bit here in the automations, but what does that mean? So when somebody comes into your world, whether they're just grabbing that freebie or they're actually signing up for something or they're buying something, you want to add them to your email sequencing because that's where the know, like, and trust factor come into play, right? So again, you'll want to think about, okay, if somebody signs up for this freebie, how many emails do I want to send them? Maybe I want to send them a series of three welcome and nurturing, or maybe 5 that, thanks them for the opt-in and the product, or, trying to get the download. And then maybe the second one is, oh, by the way, here's the link in case you lost it. The third one, give them something of value and so forth. So basically, you're just thinking about what do you want to include in your email sequences. And so now here is basically just a little flow chart for you. So when somebody first comes here, you decide what is the objective of building this funnel. Once you decide on the objective, then come up with a naming scheme and your acronym so that you'll have everything consistent. Decide on what type of funnel that you want. Start building your tags so that you can identify the actions and identify where your lead is through the whole journey. Create your forms and opt-ins. Then you get into building the pages and the products. And then you want to create systems around everything by building those automations and triggers. And then the last piece of it is putting these people into your email sequences so that you can love on them, offer them all kinds of value so that you can get them to know, like, and trust you. So that's just a quick overview when you're planning out your funnel using the ONT method and then the steps, the TFPAE, so that you never miss a step. All right. Now let me show you another quick little sample here. This is just a very high level form, so to speak. So when you sit down to start planning the funnel, basically you need to map out what pages do you need. Is it a sales page that directs people to the opt-in form or a order form, and then the thank you page? And then think about your triggers. If this happens, then do this. So as the example, if someone opts in, then what do we want? We want to create a tag. If somebody fills out the order form, we want to do X, Y, and Z, and then come up with your email sequencing. So it's just another way of looking and a small little form that you could fill out for that. And then this page is kind of a summary page. And I've got another way that I keep track of this also. But this basically, again, is you're deciding your framework. You're deciding the objective, what your primary goal is, if it's tied to a sale, what your sale will be, or your goal for that, what it is you're selling, and then you decide what kind of lead magnet and so forth. And then choose a name for your funnel, and then that name will also have the associated acronym, and then the URLs, the pages of those main steps in your funnel, the opt-in page, the thank you page, and so forth. All right. And then this third document that I was going to show you is just a real simple little funnel planning checklist. And in this checklist, again, there's lots of moving pieces. just a super simple, very high level checklist. I'm actually working on a more detailed checklist that I'll be offering people. But basically, this just gives you the big picture of all of the items that you need for your funnel. All right. Now, one other thing that I just want to share with you is when I go to build a funnel for a client, this is kind of a stripped down version, but I use a spreadsheet. And on this spreadsheet is basically the catalog and the repository of everything that I've built for them. And like I say, this is a stripped down version because this is one that I use for my own funnels that I build. So I'll have a tab that outlines the project summary. So in other words, what's the goals, what's the pages, all of that kind of stuff. And then I'll have a status page, an update page, and that's a page that I communicate back and forth with my client with questions, comments, observations, things like that. And then I'll have a page down here. You probably can't see it, but it's called an image link for funnels. So, especially with Funnel Gorgeous and with other platforms also, you're going to find that there's some images that you use over and over and over again. It might be your favicon image, or it might be your logo. So, as I'm building out a funnel for somebody, or maybe there's 2 or 3 headshots that I use over and over again for their funnel. So once I recognize that I'm probably going to use that image more than once, what I do is I capture the back end like storage link of where that image is. Then it makes it super easy, very quick to be able to insert that image on the other pages. So, this list grows depending on how complicated the funnel is. And this is just a little, again, snippet of some of my images that I use over and over again. Another tab down here is what I call my video embed codes. So here was a testimonial that I got from one of my clients, and this is the actual embed code. Now, this particular embed code, I'll probably use over and over again. I've used it on my web page and use it on different funnel pages that I'm building out. So again, similar to the image links, the video embed codes, it's nice to categorize those or create a catalog, especially if you're building out a course. So you're going to have all of these videos that you've created for your course. It's nice to grab all of the embed code and have it in one place. I have a whole training just on how to do that for your membership site, but for this little sample, I might have a few video embed codes that I'm using. Then the next page or the next tab is what I call CEO information. And again, when you're building a funnel, you're going to find that there's some information that you repeat over and over and over again. Your Facebook group name, your Facebook profile, your Instagram, your main email or phone number. Now, if you're building it for yourself, you think, well, I know what my Facebook group is, or I know what this is. But you know what? Trust me, I am a fast typer, but it is much easier. I just come over here, I copy it, boom, I paste it in. So there's a lot of information that gets pasted behind the funnel page. Most builders call it something like an SEO information page or something. And so I just have all of this stuff in one place. So it's very easy for me to grab it. And hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying. The campaign, I don't have anything here, but if I'm building out different campaigns for people, I'll catalog that. My URLs, and again, this is mine, so it doesn't look like what I deliver to my clients. But again, remember that one little sheet where I showed you that the main opt-in page, the thank you page, the page to purchase the product, and all of that kind of stuff. I will list all of those here. So again, people don't have to get into their funnel to grab that URL or to grab that link, so they'll know exactly what it is. And then the other thing I like to do is I like to have my brand colors posted someplace so that I'm not constantly digging around for it. So if I have it in this spreadsheet, it's always here. I can have a sample of the colors here, or I could fill the square here. Then I never have to hunt and peck for it. All right. So I've given you a lot of information here. So let me stop sharing and let me bring the screen back here. So just like super quick, just gave you a sneak peek behind the scenes of when I'm building a funnel for somebody, the thinking process, the planning process, and then how I document the whole process for them, so that not only do they get a really nice, beautiful funnel with all the automations, but then they also have this documentation so they never have to search and hunt for all of those things. All right. I see a question. Somebody says, do we have these? So the little forms and everything that I'm showing you, I will put a link in the comments later today. It'll probably be later this afternoon after I get done with my funnel build. And you can download all of those. They're great planning documents, and I'm happy to share them with you. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments, what your takeaway was. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, then please subscribe so that you can get more goodies, more training like this. And if you need a funnel built, reach out to me and we can chat and see if it's a good fit for me to build it. Or if you want to learn how to build your funnels, then reach out because then you would be a good candidate for my Digital Business Academy. All right. As always, have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. See you later.